Happening now. Breaking news. Maazị Nnamdi Kanu, ọhamadike ndị Igbo, agbata obi nwa Chineke has finally arrived at Federal High Court, Abuja, on today, being 7th of November 2025, to continue his trial. Hear the news in details. All right, once again, here Abu Eastern News 24. Kaisi wene utonya bozi n'iru akwụkwọ ụmụnne m dịka isi kwunu nkwa gbasata maka ya bụ the court procedure of Maazị Nnamdi Kanu. Anyị kwuru nkwa na ga na-enye update. So ya bụ update anyị na-eweta tata bụ 7th of November 2025. Na onye ndu nke ndị Igbo, onye fọlọ ife ga-eme n'ọdịnihu wee gwa anyị sa kwado ọfụma. Onye predict the slaughter and genocide na-eme na Nigeria n'oge ugbu a, Maazị Nnamdi Kanu, ọhamadike ndị Igbo. Ya bụ otu onye bụ intaneti mkpu gbasata maka ya bụ ife. Anyị dịka o si dị dịka unu si wee maa na ka ya bụ ife si aga n'iru akwụkwọ gbasata maka ya court case owe between him and the Nigerian government n'iru akwụkwọ. Tupu anyị aga n'iru kwugasị ihe ndị ọzọ, unu mana court nke gara aga anyị ga-ewetara unu recap to it site n'ọnụ nwanne anyị nwoke. Mana tupu anyị alapụ nnukwu ya bụ ife, unu mana court nke gara aga Maazị Nnamdi Kanu nụrụ ọgụ ka nwoke n'ime court. O kwuru sị, unu gosi mụ ebe law kwuru na ekwesịghị ịtara ya, na ọ bụ na Nigerian government or the lawyer or the chief justice bụ Justice James Omotosho gwa ya law ebe law kwuru ka atara ya na ya bụ Maazị Nnamdi Kanu ga-abanyekwa his own defense immediately. Mana ya bụ ọgụ siri nnukwu ike. Mana ka echeregodi na ebe a gigodi na ihe nwanne anyị wetara anyị on the recap on what happened inside the court on the last time. All right, over to you.
A final chance to enter his defense or forfeit it completely. In simple terms, the court is saying, Kanu, if you don't start defending yourself by November 7th, we'll assume you have nothing to say and we'll move straight to judgment. That's where the real tension is, because for 5 straight days of trial, Kanu has refused to open any defense. He's been standing firm on one point, that there is no valid charge against him under Nigerian law. He keeps repeating it. You can't try me under a repealed law. And that's what has made this case so complicated. Let's talk about that for a second. Kanu is saying that the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act, which the government used to charge him, has been repealed. It no longer exists in law. So he's arguing, you can't call me to defend myself against a law that doesn't even exist anymore. Now, the judge said something very interesting today. He admitted that Kanu is not a lawyer, that he's an economist, and that as a judge, he must give him every chance possible to defend himself. But you can already sense the frustration in court, because while Kanu insists on legality, the government wants a quick closure. This is why some people are saying this case isn't even about justice anymore. It's about control. Because no matter how many times Kanu raises legal points, the system just wants him to comply and move forward, even when the foundation of the case itself is still in question. Now, here's the real twist. While Kanu was making his points in court today, the federal government lawyer Adegboyega Awomolo, SAN, got up and said, "My lord, enough is enough. He has wasted 5 days. He's refused to open any defense. The court should now close his case and fix a date for judgment." And this is where things got heated. Justice Omotosho had to step in and say, "I understand your frustration, but as a matter of fairness, I'll give him one last chance." That last chance is now November 7th. And you see, my people, this is where Nigerians are beginning to suspect something deeper. Because why is there such pressure to wrap this case up so fast Why is the government pushing for judgment at all costs, even when the man is saying there's no valid charge? Is it about justice or about finishing what has already been decided behind closed doors? Remember what Sowell said just yesterday, that there's already a high-level conspiracy between the Tinubu administration and the judiciary to sentence Nnamdi Kanu to either life imprisonment or death. And when you watch what happened in court today, it almost looks like the drama playing out in real time. Now let's be honest, this isn't just a court case anymore. This has become a political storm, and every word Kanu says in court now echoes beyond the courtroom. Because the way the government handles this case will determine whether Nigerians still believe in the idea of justice at all. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. While all this was happening, Kanu revealed that he would need to consult with his 4 legal consultants before making any decision. He mentioned Aloy Ejimakor, Dr. Maxwell Opara, Prince Mandela, and Naimeka Ejiofor. All of them were present in court today. But what shocked people was when the government's lawyer accused them of media interference. He said these consultants have been speaking to the press, making social media posts, and indirectly influencing public opinion about the case. Justice Omotosho actually cautioned them in open court, saying they must conduct themselves professionally. Now, that might sound normal, but many are asking, why does this government get so uncomfortable whenever people speak out about this trial? Why is every public voice around Kanu's case being silenced, restricted, or threatened? Because if the government truly believes its case is strong, then public opinion shouldn't scare them. And that's why people are calling this a test of Nigeria's judiciary, whether it still has independence or it's just following political orders. But let's not forget something important here. Kanu's argument today about the law being repealed is not just a technical point. If he's right, then legally this entire case collapses. It means the government is wasting time prosecuting someone under a law that doesn't exist, which is not just illegal, but unconstitutional. So if on November 7th, the judge still insists on moving forward, Nigerians will have every reason to question whether this case was ever about truth or just about proving power. Now, I'll tell you this. What's happening right now looks like a standoff between conscience and control. One man saying, I will not defend a lie, and a system that says, you will do what we say. Before I continue, because what I'm about to reveal next will explain why this November date might carry more political significance than just a court hearing, and what is being quietly planned by both camps ahead of that day. Make sure you like and subscribe, because what comes next might shock you. Now let's continue, because this is where everything starts to connect. And if you've been following this case closely, you'll understand why November 7th is not just another date on the court calendar. What's building behind the scenes right now looks like a quiet storm, and I'll tell you why. First of all, this last chance that Justice Omotosho gave Kanu today isn't just a legal courtesy, it's a pressure move. It's the court's way of saying, either you play by our rules or we'll end this case on our own terms. And that's exactly what Sowell warned Nigerians about last week, that the outcome of this case has already been decided behind closed doors, and that what's happening in court is just the acting part of a movie already scripted. If you watch the sequence carefully, you'll see that every time Kanu challenges the validity of the charges, the court bends the conversation back to procedure. It's no longer about whether the law exists, it's now about whether he refused to defend himself. That's how the trap works. If they can't win on the law, they'll win through technical interpretation. But let's pause here, because what people are asking now is, why is the government so desperate to finish this case before the year ends? Well, according to multiple sources close to the Ministry of Justice, there's growing international attention on this matter, especially since the US government and human rights bodies have started putting pressure on Nigeria over human rights and religious freedom. The Tinubu administration doesn't want Nnamdi Kanu's name to become another global talking point like it did under Buhari. So what they are trying to do now, according to those in the know, is to close the file quietly, push the judgment out before international scrutiny peaks. And that's why this final chance is coming now. They want everything done before the diplomatic and political climate gets hotter. But Nigerians are not fooled. People are asking, how can a man be tried under a repealed law? How can the court itself ignore the Supreme Court's directive to amend the charge? If the top court already said the old charge is invalid, then what exactly are we still doing in this trial? These are the questions that make people lose faith in the system. Let's also talk about something people are whispering about. This November 7th date. Remember how Sowore said this could echo what happened in November 1995 with Ken Saro Wiwa. That warning wasn't just emotional talk, it was symbolic. Because in Nigeria's political history, November has always carried moments of silence before something explosive. Now, insiders are saying the government wants to use this judgment to finally end what they call the Biafra agitation chapter, to show they can silence it through the court. But what they're forgetting is that movements like this don't die through force or imprisonment. They grow when people feel ignored, when justice feels one-sided. And right now, even people who never supported IPOB are beginning to say, this is not about Biafra anymore. This is about human rights. That's how dangerous this has become. Because if the government gets this wrong, it will create a wave of resentment that could spread beyond the southeast. Now, let's be realistic. Kanu himself is not making it easy for them. He's refusing to play along. He's standing on the Constitution, quoting Section 3612 that says no one can be tried for an offense not defined by law. He's basically telling them, I'm not afraid of your system. Show me the valid charge or let me go. That defiance, that refusal to compromise, is what's keeping this case alive in the minds of Nigerians. Because it's rare to see someone stand up to the government with that kind of confidence, knowing the risk he's facing. But this is also where things can get messy. Because if the court goes ahead to close its defense and fix judgment, and that judgment goes the way many people are predicting, then Nigeria might face another round of unrest. Mark this. If anything happens to Nnamdi Kanu that looks unjust, it won't just end in court. It will spill into the streets, into international headlines, and back into Nigeria's already fragile political image. You see, what the government needs to understand is that force cannot erase frustration. You can't build peace by silencing people. You build peace by fixing the reasons why they are angry in the first place. And this is why a lot of political watchers are now saying the Tinubu government is handling this case like it's 1984, not 2025. Because if you truly believe in democracy, you don't force justice. You prove it. Before I close this part, let's talk about what to expect next. November 7th will not just be another day in court, it will be a litmus test for Nigeria's democracy. Justice Omotosho will have to decide between two roads. Either he stands on law and principle or he bows to pressure and politics. Whichever path he takes, history will remember it. Because what happens to Nnamdi Kanu will either restore Nigerians' faith in justice or finally break it. Now, my people, I want to know what you think. Do you believe the court will stand on the side of justice? Or do you think Sowa's warning is already playing out exactly as he predicted? Drop your thoughts and reactions in the comment section below. Let's hear what you think. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because what we're about to reveal next will connect this case to the rising international pressure from the US, the UN, and even the recent statements from world leaders who are now watching Nigeria closely. The November 7th decision could change everything. We'll be right here to break it down when it happens. Stay tuned. The storm is far from over.
Concentrating on the objections raised to the judicial of the court. On that note, the court adjourned for further hearing to 7th of November, when the court expects that he will enter a full defense. Well, having said that, I know a lot of people have raised questions and eyebrows about the propriety of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu representing himself. It is his decision to make. He has the right under the Constitution to defend himself, and this case being politically charged, I think the idea or the notion that this is a normal criminal case has to be dispensed with. This is a normal criminal case at all. If you want to understand the complexity of this case and the true political dimensions to it, you think of the case of Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Obafemi Awolowo, Mahatma Gandhi. These cases were all politically tinged cases masquerading as criminal prosecutions. And these great men I mentioned, at some point in their struggle, at some point in their travail imposed on them by the state, they took the podium and defended themselves. So a politically
ndị banyị nwadalụ linye nụ edikun siwene sewele n'iru akwụkwọ na Eastern News 24 dịka anyị kwelu nkwa na anyị ga-etinye dụ n'audio kwelu n'ife nwanne anyị were ịgwa anyị dịka unu gede ya bụ ife ọ ya amasị m na mma lapụ unu ka unu react ya na kọmentị ife unu chere n'ife okwu gasị dị iche iche n'iru akwụkwọ and dịka anyị na-eche ka ya bụ kọtụ wee bịa n'isi njedebe na ụbọchị nke taa and anyị kwelu unu nkwa anyị ga-enye unu update after this court session. So make sure you stay tuned to Eastern News 24. Dịka ịma na onye ndu abatago ụlọ nke ọkaikpe o nwere many reactions na-abịanụ mana anyị sị ka anyị jidegodi ya ebe a anyị ka anyị na-echetakwa n'azụ n'iru akwụkwọ wee gwunu ka ya bụ ifesi wee gaa n'ụbọchị nke taa mgbe ka emesịa na ụmụnne m darụ niile.